Alright guys, we've got our very first semi-cheese farm for this season, and it only took us a couple of days. Now we first learned this late last night from a Reddit post from the Savior on the official Destiny the Game Reddit page. And after doing an hour of our own personal testing, this is definitely the best Dreaming City weapon farm in the game, or at least until it gets patched. But that's not all. You can even score red border weapons for Season of the Wish with this farm, depending on how lucky you are. Now for my folks not really caring about Dreaming City weapons, keep in mind, they have had a perk refresh on top of an origin trait. No lie, some of these look really good. Regardless though, I would definitely take advantage of this farm before Bungie figures out how to fix it. Granted, I'm gonna be interested in seeing if Bungie can figure out a way to fix this. Now let me just go over what we got in 30 minutes of farming. We roughly were able to get somewhere around 25 Dreaming City weapon rolls, a few Season of the Wish weapons, and multiple Wish Engrams. Yeah, you like this Vouchsafe? Destabilizing repulsor brace. Now you cannot get the Reprised undying weapons from this farm, so keep that in mind. But the main takeaway for this, guys, is that this farm is insanely easy. You don't need anything special. You could run it solo or with friends. Now this is how it works. Everything is taking place within the Coil activity. You can access it right here from the helm. Now if you're running this solo, you do not want to select the match-made version. Instead, you want to click the private version. This is because you're going to be constantly leaving the activity to rinse and repeat this farm. Hence why you need to be loading the private version and not ditching people in the match-made version. I know I'm kind of repeating myself here. I just don't want people loading up the match-made version, abandoning folks, and the next thing you know it, everyone's like, oh my god, Cross, your farm has literally ruined the Coil for me. Now once you load in, you want to shoot the pot in front of Riven to start the activity. Now you don't even need the glass it drops, and you don't even need to talk to Riven to get any of those buffs. You could skip it and go right through the portal, and then the portal after that. Now this week's pathways have you going through the poison trap room first, so be mindful of the traps. Try not to set them off, especially considering you are playing solo, with that togetherness modifier still being active, which can really suck considering the damage over time that poison can do. Now how this farm works is you have to break all the pots in this poison room and collect the shards from them. This will unlock access to the first secret chest, and if you pop on a ghost mod, you can actually detect the chest here, guys. Throw on a wombo combo and you can see everything. Now you'll know you've successfully unlocked the door to the chest when the game tells you at the bottom left hand corner. Now it will require the shards from every pot in this room. So as you enter the room, you want to hug the left wall so you don't trigger the poison, and then shoot the pots down below. Now you can use something like Gallahorn, as it can clear the two groups of ads pretty much with one rocket. That way you don't have to deal with any of these enemies throughout this process. So essentially fire a rocket off at the Scorn right after the first pots, then jump to the right and do the same to the second group of enemies. Then you want to fall down to the second group of pots, collect their shards, then jump back up to where the second group of enemies were, and you'll see the third group of pots. Break those, then turn around and head through the little cave where you'll find the last couple pots that will unlock the door behind them where the secret chest is located. Now the correct chest will always be the one on the left here, while the mimic chest will always be the one on the right. You can literally see the one glowing and the little spikes underneath it. Don't try to open it, you'll die. Open the chest on the left and you'll get your loot. Then simply go to orbit, and that's it. Rinse and repeat, guys. And this is substantially faster with a team. You got two fire team members in here, you'll be flying through here, especially if you got some grapple builds, allowing you to pretty much traverse these empty corridors extremely quickly. However, if you are running solo, you're able to do this in about 90 seconds, and this includes the time spent loading in and out of the activity. Now after an hour of farming at about 1 minute and 30 seconds per run, this was the loot that we've got. Dreaming City weapons included 10 Waking Vigils, 4 Vouchsafes, 4 Twilight Oaths, 9 Retold Tales, 8 Tigerspites, 7 Sleepless, and 5 Abide the Returns. Roughly 47 total Dreaming City weapons. Wish weapons were 1 Super Cluster, which was a red border, 3 Scatter Signals, 1 Scalar Potential, and 1 Appetence. So not nearly as many Wish weapons, and red borders were very slim. Other miscellaneous rewards were things like Wish Engrams, which we had 9 of, 5 armor pieces, and 1 layer key. So understand, guys, this farm is not the best for Wish weapons, and if you still want to look at a guide for that, we have an entire seasonal guide on how to get red border weapons for this season, how the seasonal activity works, all that good stuff. This is just for Dreaming City weapons, but it is by far the best Dreaming City weapon farm. And if you notice from this, we have way more than 45 total drops, despite this being 45 runs. And that's because you can get double to triple drops from this chest. Now, considering that we're really focusing on getting Dreaming City weapons, I want to go over all the refresh rolls and essentially narrow down the God roll that I would want for each one of these. Let's start with one of my favorite hand cannons, Waking Vigil. First up, the origin trait found on this weapon, as well as all of them on this list, is Advanced Reflexes. Upon taking damage from a target, quickly guard or aim down sights with this weapon to gain bonus mobility, handling, and charge rate for a short time. Sounds like a trait you're going to be able to proc pretty much all the time. Now, the weapon actually has a new trait right here, Attrition Orbs. Dealing sustained damage creates an orb of power. Now, I have not tested this trait, but considering that orb creation this season has received somewhat of a nerf in regards to some of our mods, that actually may be pretty useful. I'm actually really curious to see if that works inside of PvP. Other trait combinations, though, that look really good. For my PvE players, you got Outlaw and Volt Shot, or even Rapid Hit and Volt Shot. Shoot the Loot is also present on this weapon. And considering that this is an arc weapon, Collective Action is something you could definitely utilize on this hand cannon, especially for my Warlocks out there that are picking up Onyx Traces. You're going to be walking around with a 20% buff pretty often, depending on your build. Now, for my PvP players, the role that I'm looking for, Rapid Hit, Kill Clip all day long, probably with high caliber rounds. Back in the day, I would have said Rangefinder, but Rangefinder has definitely dropped off more for me. And as far as like my 1v1 role, Rapid Hit, Opening Shots should work beautifully. Now, moving on to our next weapon, Vouchsafe. So many nasty combinations for this 200 round per minute Void Scout. You've got Destabilizing Rounds and Repulsor Brace. Explosive Payload is also present here. And just like Wake and Vigil, you also have Attrition Orbs and Collective Action. For my PvE players, that Destabilizing Round Repulsor Brace role is very intriguing. And that's pretty much the one I'm going to be going for outside of an Explosive Payload role. For my PvP players, look, don't kid yourself, guys. This 200 round per minute Scouts actually performs well. And I know we're not in a Scout Rifle meta, but Vouchsafe with that Rapid Hit Explosive Payload role feels very nice. So guys, don't sleep on it. Next, we have Twilight Oath. Dude, at one time, people used to run around with Twilight Oath and use it like a long range Scout Rifle. Now, you can't double body shot inside of PvP, but it does have Opening Shot and Snapshot, which I know many players will definitely like. For my PvE players, nothing here really looks good. I'm just being real with you. I know it's got precision instruments, it's got incandescent. Yes, it is solar, so in solar surge environments, which should be pretty often this season, and of course we have a ton of artifact mods that synergize with solar. Yes, this sniper rifle could definitely be something you use, but in terms of like DPS, Supremacy is hands down the king. This sniper rifle doesn't have really anything here outside of maybe doing like a Vorpal or high ground combination with Envious Assassin. But considering we just did sniper rifle damage testing the other day, you can literally lay on the trigger with the right Supremacy roll and never stop firing. Next on the list, we have Retold Tale. Now, just like Matador and Fractashite, Retold is in that same precision archetype. It also comes with the new trait Deconstruct. Dealing sustained damage grants bonus damage against vehicles and constructs and partially refills the magazine. Damage with primary ammo or against constructs provide additional progress. Now, constructs include barricades, turrets, stasis crystals, and other objects created in the field. Now, for my PvE players, yes, it's got some cool combinations. Repulsor, Destabilizing Rounds. But for me, when I look at a precision shotgun, I'm immediately looking for that God Roll PvP. This one doesn't really have it. I would have loved to have seen Opening Shot, but it isn't present. It does have Slide Shot though, and you can do like a Slide Shot Killing Wind combo. You even have Barrel Constrictor here, which states that final blows with this weapon reduce the projectile spread of its next shot for a short duration. But again, I like things that help me on the front end. Opening Shot would have been amazing here, but I guess Bungie didn't want to give us a Slide Shot Opening Shot combo. Instead, you can do Slide Shot and Snapshot just to increase that ADS speed if you want, but I don't even think that's going to be necessary considering Advanced Reflexes is the origin trait on this weapon. Regardless though, Retold Tale is like one of those weapons that it really doesn't matter that much. It's just a good feeling shotgun. Next, we have Tigerspite. Now, unfortunately, Tigerspite here has had Surplus removed, but considering Checkmate is probably going to be the new norm for Crucible going forward, Surplus is definitely not going to be a trait I rely on. With that being said though, Tigerspite is a very, and I mean very deadly auto rifle, both in PvP and inside of PvE. First up, for my PvP players, dude, either Fragile Focus or Moving Targets with Eye of the Storm or Kill Clip will be fantastic for this auto. Tigerspite is one of those guns that feels so good to shoot. You can literally feel yourself mid-gunfight overpowering the enemy. And we did a review way back when of the God Roll Tigerspite, and I just felt like I couldn't lose even then. And 450 round per minute auto rifles have been substantially buffed since then, but either one of those trait combinations will serve you well. But for my PvE players, this one's really interesting. First up, it's a kinetic weapon. Secondly, it's got kinetic trimmers, which as far as I know, this is the first auto rifle with kinetic trimmers. I don't even know how many shots is required to activate kinetic trimmers here, but you can do a kinetic trimmer subsistence roll, proc those AoE kills, and reload this weapon all day long. Now, Frenzy is also present here, so is Demolitionist, but for my PvE players, kinetic trimmers is the clear winner. Next, we have Sleepless. This is an arc high-impact rocket launcher. It's got a new trait called Permeability. Using your class ability changes this weapon's damage type to match your subclass until you stow the weapon. I don't really know where exactly I'm gonna benefit from this trait. Now, High Ground is also present on this weapon, which again gives you that 20% buff when you have the high ground. You've got Field Prep, you've got Ensemble, Bipod is also here. The issue is, there's just so much competition. And finally, finally, we have Abide the Return. This is an adaptive frame sword. It too comes with attrition orbs, permeability, and the trait Valiant Charge, where receiving damage while guarding temporarily increases sword lunge distance. Now, it's got your normal rolls that you would want on a sword. Whirlwind Blade, Blessed Strikes, even on guard for burst damage. Incandescent is also present here. Now, is this sword gonna hold up amongst the sword meta with the likes of like Lament, Bequest? I don't really think so. I mean, we'll see. Maybe like attrition orbs. I'm like feeding myself orbs. I'm rocking surges at that moment. But at the same time, you could do the exact same thing with those other swords and buff your damage with another trait. So I'm not too crazy about this weapon. So guys, those are your Dreaming City weapons. Good luck on this farm. I hope you get some God rolls. And if you somehow magically land that God roll Tigerspite, let me know, man. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.